Hey everyone, welcome to Health by the Bay. Antoinette here. Hope you're well. Hope this video finds you well and calm. I've got a really special treat today. I'd like to introduce you to Kerry, who not only is the president of the AHA in New South Wales, but a psychologist and homeopath extraordinaire. And she's very kindly agreed to take some time out and come and tell us about the combination of homeopathy and psychology, because it's kind of, at the beginning it sounds like an odd mix, but we'll leave that to Kerry. So welcome, Kerry.
Good morning.
Thanks for giving us your time. Can you just start by telling us a bit about yourself?
I've worked as a psychologist for the past 30 years and found about 15 or so years ago that you can only make a little bit of a difference with psychology. And I wanted to make more of a difference and found homeopathy through personal experience and decided that that was the thing that I needed to do, to learn about, so that I could actually bring about greater change for my clients.
Right.
And it works very well.
That's a really common story, Kerry, that people have been doing whatever it is they've been doing for a long time. They want to make a difference and they feel that they're not making a big enough difference. So thanks for sharing that. In terms of the combination of homeopathy and psychology, I don't know about you, but lots of clients I come across think, oh, well, homeopathy is good for this, like it's good for, I don't know, constipation, or it's good for, you know, something physical, but they don't necessarily make the translation to homeopathy and emotions. For some of us, it's like an odd mix. Can you comment on that?
I think most people these days understand the concept of the mind and body being very connected, and it's just that people don't think about that in their daily lives. When they've got a flu or they've got an eczema, they don't think about, well, how does this make me feel, other than how it makes them feel physically. But the underlying emotional and mental state can actually give us a lot of clues to the right remedy for the person, because homeopathy and illness, in fact, affect the whole person, not just their physical body.
Sure.
So psychology and homeopathy work very well together, because the psychology gives you an insight into how and why people may be thinking and feeling the way that they do.
And like we say to our clients all the time, homeopathy is a whole person treatment. It's not one aspect. We say that all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
And it's just a matter of education for our clients. They come along and learn more about the process.
Yeah. Okay, so in homeopathy we talk a lot about obstacles to cure, the things that inhibit or slow down the healing process. From your point of view, are emotions an obstacle to cure, potentially?
It certainly can be, particularly if the person doesn't have a lot of insight into their emotions. Emotions are almost our unconscious drivers. So repetitive behaviour, poor choices in partners can be very emotionally driven. And if the person doesn't have that insight into what's going on in their relationships and why, therefore they are feeling in a particular way, they can get stuck in these old patterns, and homeopathy is the thing that helps them to get out of those old patterns. So definitely can be an obstacle to cure. Many people intellectualise. They'll say, "Oh, I've analysed this situation over and over, and I've been to therapy now. I understand why I do these things," but they don't get in touch with that feeling. They don't want to get in touch with that feeling, and so they've intellectualised it, and the emotion becomes a mental state rather than an emotional state. And to treat the obstacle to cure, you need to treat the emotional state so that they can get a true deep feeling.
So does that mean then that lots of your clients are going to be kind of, become emotional screaming wrecks? Is that what that means? That they have to kind of get in touch with that intense fear or that intense anxiety, or? Because that scares me. I have to say.
Sometimes they will experience those emotions, particularly if they're a long-standing pattern. Those emotions will come back. I always tell them that that's a possibility, but they don't necessarily come back in that intense, unable to cope with way. people often say to me, oh, this situation at work came up again, and I can ask them, how did they deal with it? How did it affect them? And they can say, well, I actually managed it better than I would have in the past.
Yeah.
Still not perfectly, but they felt more in control. So while they could experience the emotion, they weren't completely overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, that's my experience too.
And yeah, homeopathy just helps that process to happen. And once they've had that experience, they know that it's not going to destroy them, and they can sort of deal with it better in the future.
It's like emotions happen on layers, don't they?
They absolutely
Yeah,
do.
dealing with the layers. One of the things that drives me bonkers, and there's a song about it at the moment on the radio, which drives me even more bonkers. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a prevailing idea about that, and I guess that's what we're talking about here. That in fact that's not the case. That we can be undermined.
The thing about that whole thing, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, it suggests that not dealing with it, suppressing it, ignoring it is strong.
Or it's just surviving it.
Surviving it, that's strength. Strength is actually about facing those fears and dealing with it. And you know, it's a very physical, that's kind of talked about in a physical context.
Sense. Exactly.
But in an emotional context, it's actually the same thing happens, but you actually have to deal with the fear.
Yeah.
You have to deal with the anxiety, you have to deal with the anger or sadness or grief.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what doesn't kill you doesn't necessarily make you stronger at all. It just gives you more stuff to work through so that you end up stronger on the other side. And homeopathy
helps you through that process.
Absolutely. So how do you use homeopathy and psychology together?
What I usually do, the psychology aspect of it is part of the whole the whole homeopathic consultation. We are often talking about feelings. A lot of the people who come to see me come for psychological issues, depression, anxiety, fears, relationship issues, unhelpful patterns of behaviour. So we try and identify what they are and gradually get to an understanding of what it is that drives them. So what is the pattern of that person's feelings and the way they respond to the situation? And understanding that, I can give them some suggestions about the things that they can do from a psychological point of view, behaviour change. We may do some cognitive behaviour therapy, we may do acceptance and commitment therapy. It would depend very much on what the individual person is, what speaks to them. And on top of that, we would add in an appropriate homeopathic remedy.
Right. So it's hand in glove, really.
It's very hand in glove, but it's quite a synergistic process. It works much better than just the psychological approach on its own.
Well, thanks for that. Thanks for raising the whole idea of suggestions, because that's exactly where I wanted to go next. I wondered if you could give us some expert suggestions on how to deal with the major button presses in our lives, because we all have them, right? And lots of us don't have strategies to get us through them. So can you suggest some?
I think the starting point is to not push that emotion away, not push that feeling away and deny it or suppress it. That gives it more power.
Yeah.
If you can be an observer and recognise, oh, I'm feeling this, maybe anger, grief, frustration, whatever, and just let it be. In a sense, welcome it in and recognise what it is. You may not have a name for it. You may just be feeling really awful. Let it be. Just welcome it in. Okay, I'm feeling really awful again. I don't understand why, but I'm going to sit with this for a bit until I do. Giving yourself a little space like that can help you then to make a decision about whether to act or not act that comes from a place that's more in tune with you and your values, your needs, rather than reacting to what somebody else is doing to you.
Right. So then, am I hearing this right? What we're saying is that we want to commit to actually dealing with our button presses differently.
Yeah.
And that when someone presses our buttons, and they will, the thing to do is, instead of jumping like we might normally, or retreating, or whatever our normal process is, it's to stop and recognise something happened. And if you can name it, name it. But if you can't, that's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Sometimes I don't know what I'm feeling. Sometimes I just know I'm feeling something, which is not particularly good, but I can't name it. And I get my knickers in a knot about that as well. I think, I can't name it. Oh God, what's this? Then I get upset about that. So no, it's okay to not name it. It's just to feel it. And then breathe and just sit with that, and then make a decision from there about how I want to act with it. Is that right?
If you do that, you'll give yourself time to understand the layers of feelings, because you don't usually just have one emotion. You may have, emotions are complex things. There'll be layers. You may initially be angry, but underneath that is sadness and disappointment.
Have I got time to do this in an interchange? Have I got time? Am I going to miss the next 10 minutes of the conversation while I'm doing this?
You may miss some of the conversation, but does that matter?
No, I guess not.
You can do this in the space of about 10 or 15 seconds.
Right.
You can give yourself that distance. You can, first of all, recognise, oh, I'm feeling whatever. And then you say to yourself, I recognise that I am feeling. I observe myself feeling. And you can give yourself that space to become that objective observer. 10 seconds.
Yeah. Because then you're not the emotion, you're not being swallowed up by it, you've got control to act on that emotion. That is such a valuable tip. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap this one up?
I guess the other thing is be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
We all have our good days and we all have our bad days. And whatever, that's okay. We all make mistakes, that's okay. We just need to start again.
Yeah, I so have to remember that one. And to stop mainlining Rescue Remedy. No, that was a joke. That was a joke. Well, on that note, I'll say thanks once again. Thank you so much, Kerry. It's been a real pleasure to have you here and sharing these ideas with the people who are watching this.
Pleasure.
Go well.
Thank you.
Go well. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Stay tuned. We've got some more exciting interviews coming. Until then, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.